Again, my sister, you are in my prayers. I'm sending this out to you today. Your family is in my prayers. And I send healing from the Creator and the heavens above to you and your family, and to my hometown in Chicago, where the blood stains are all over the streets. It's not a huge focus to us because we don't hear about 10 to 15 homicides in Minneapolis or St. Paul every day. We don't hear about the seniors having to hide up under their beds because of the gunshots ringing out every day. Chief of police not too long ago about the small bit of violence that's going on in Minneapolis. But I told the chief of police that everything starts out small. But if we don't focus on it and put a cap on it and a top on it before it grows, the numbers of homicides will grow to numbers Minnesota have never seen before. Right. Because see, what happens is this. I'm from Chicago. In New York, when somebody commits a homicide, it is known fact now that Minnesota, from even way back in the days, I have checked back to Diligent Capone days, is the place that you go to hide out after you have murdered somebody.
All right now.
In Los Angeles, they know that Minnesota is the place to come and hide out, whether it's St. Paul or Minneapolis, if you have killed somebody, whether it's 5 to 10 people. Detroit, same thing. Gary, Indiana, same thing. Chicago, they call Minneapolis a small Chicago. When I took my sons, brought my 3 sons up here from Chicago, because one of my sons, he was 14, 3 of his friends were murdered. One had his brains blown out right in front of our house while my son was in the bathroom using it, waiting for him. He was outside waiting for my son to come out of the bathroom so they could go to the store. When my son came out of the bathroom, all he came out to see was brains and blood all over the front of our house of his friend. He would have been next. I said to God in the heavens, God, it's either I'm going to stay here and get caught up in this mess and go to war with these gangbangers and these thugs on the street for killing my son because he's next. They done killed all his friends. Or I'm going to move him away from here and take a chance on giving him a life, and maybe he might even give me some grandchildren. Maybe he might get away from this and go to school and finish school. Maybe he might get away from this and bring me some grandkids, get married. I don't know. So I moved to Minnesota. That's how I got here. That's why I'm here. These same children that were murdered, one after another, brains blowed out, were all black children. Now it's gotten to the point where now we have teenagers, black teenagers, killing our black babies. That's why we're here today. And that's why I came together to speak to you about black on black hatred. It needs to stop. I want to start with this. My dear sister, rest in peace, Harriet Tubman said, "Follow me to freedom." Meaning that, how long do you want to be a slave? How long will you be a slave to the hatred that's going on in your community? Brother Malcolm X, my dear brother Malcolm and my mentor, said if we don't stand for something, we will fall for anything. So I'm going to give you a quote that if I don't make it through this war of this black on black hatred and somebody chooses to shoot me down, I want you to remember that I said this, and I took this from his quote. Brother Malcolm said, if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. But Brother KG said, if we don't stand for something, we will die for anything. Our people are dying for nothing today.
That's real, right on.
Nothing today in all of our communities. Marcus Garvey, my dear brother, said a people without knowledge of its past is like a tree without roots. Meaning that we don't know who we are or where we came from.
That's right.
Oh, let's break it down a little bit further than that. Me, I was raised in a foster home. I had no mother or no father. When I heard about I did, my father was killed. They said he was a pimp. He got killed by one of his girls. I never seen a picture of him. Never. Never met him in my life. So I don't know the man that I came from. My mother was an intravenous drug user who shot dope in her veins till she collapsed every vein in her body. I didn't meet my mother till I was about 15 years old. So I really don't have no knowledge of who my mom is. I met my grandmother and she told me some things about our ancestral roots that didn't go too far. The farthest they went was the projects on 41st Estate, Robert Taylor. That was the farthest they went. Frederick Douglass said, if there's no struggle, there's no progress. Which tells me that there's going to be a struggle. That tells me that we are brothers and sisters of a struggle right now. And I ain't talking about no gang. We are brothers and sisters of a struggle. Okay, yeah, some of us are doing better than some. That's because of their consciousness level. Their consciousness level. To my city, Chicago, as I look in the camera to you today, in my spirit, I see a city that has made me cry out for and become a prayer warrior for you. I see a city that is on death row. I see a city that is paved with blood. When I think about the story and how they showed it in the pictorial or the video form of Moses parting the Red Sea or whatever, I see the Red Sea of blood in the cities of Chicago, and children being washed up upon the land with arms and limbs missing, babies, blood everywhere, because of people like my brother has said before, are godless and spiritualists. They have no spirituality. They're disobedient. They have left from the safety net of their mothers and fathers, those who have mothers and fathers and family, they have left from that safety net, which is called home, and ran into the pits of hell, into the fiery flames of the evil one, the serpent and his demons in the community who could care less about a race of people called black people, who are condemned with a hatred that is so deep and so profound that the elders can't even grab them and shake them and tell them about who they truly are as young black men and women anymore. They have gotten to the point where they would rather die first, cold-bloodedly in the street, and leave a mother screaming and crying, and the peace activists coming behind them to pray over them. I'm talking about black hatred in our cities. Gangs. The gangs. You that are black gang members. LA, New York, Detroit, Gary, Indiana, Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, East Side, Selby Side, whatever it is. Gang members. You have, like Malcolm said, been hoodwinked, bamboozled, run amok. Your conscience level is so low that you have allowed somebody to fool you into thinking that you are not black, but you are blue and red. So as long as you think that you are fighting against blue and red, you can't see the color black, because that color represents who you are. That color represents who your mother and your father and your grandmother is, who birthed you and raised you in a black community that came together back in the 60s, because today, most of the children today, and it's sad to say, are children of mothers and fathers of the 80s.
All right now.
Some of them are children of alcoholism, drugism, but still yet a people and youth without no consciousness. It's time to wake up. Time to wake up, cities. It's time to wake up. Violence. Violence. When I think about violence, I think about where we live and where you live. And if you live where I live and there's some violence going on, it's probably called a hood, which used to be once, at one time, a neighborhood. How do I know this? Because the elders told me, KG, that same place where you going to pick them bodies up, you doing them vigils, you trying to get them out of gangs, they doing all that shooting, used to be a beautiful neighborhood. Right. Oh, but for some reason, some disobedient, non-conscious, drug-infested, gang-infested youth came into a once beautiful neighborhood, moved in there, caused fear amongst the elders, their parents. Now the parents are even afraid of the youth. So now, when you talk about this once neighborhood, it's not called a neighborhood no more, because what has happened, when it was a neighborhood, because you had neighbors. That's what makes a neighborhood. Neighbors don't let things go on in a neighborhood that people in the hood let go on.
That's right.
Because they live there, they want to retire there, they want to die there, they want to bring up their children, and they're family-oriented, community-based. But somehow, some way, people, adults, we have gotten to the point where we have allowed the young people and their disobedience to come into our homes, take over, bring gangs, drug gangbangers, all this stuff into our homes. Cuss us out. They don't want to go to school, none of this. These same children get our house shot up, our other innocent babies, like Jonylan Watkins, and so many other children. Terrell Mays, shot and killed 2 years ago in North Minneapolis, 3 years old. Putting their lives in jeopardy. This violence got to stop. And it's all black on black hatred. This is not another race coming in, killing our babies, terrorizing our seniors.